couple will be coming who will share with you their experiences in the tech sector. And we'll introduce them as they come up. We've got veterans, people who've been doing this a while, people who are influential in the industry, and people that have risen in the industry, and they'll investigate some of the spaces between technology and leadership and women and Africa. So, I don't know if you can see the slides. Can we start with the slides, please? So, we founded Women in Tech Africa about 2 years ago because I've been in the industry for 12 to 15 years now, and I understood the difficulties and the challenges of being a woman in an industry that's particularly dominated. I'm someone that I've fought through the career path, but I wanted to create a safe space for women across Africa to network, share opportunities, help affect each other's career and career growth, but also to affect our communities positively. So we have membership of women in about 30 African countries across the continent. We have physical chapters in Ghana, in Kenya, in London, and today we're launching in Nigeria. In ending of March we do Cameroon, and by the end of the year we'll hopefully be in 12 African countries. We're a growing group, and we're here to support women in the tech sector, but also we're here to support and affect our community, which is evident in the projects we do with training female entrepreneurs and also working with girls and supporting girls. So that's it, I shut up now. I've got an amazing group of people here who will share with us their experiences. I want to introduce you to Juliet, who is the country manager for Nigeria, and she will give us her keynote.
Thank you very much. Is it? Hi everyone. I'm very delighted to be here this afternoon supporting the launch of Women in Tech in Nigeria. Just to get us a sense of who's in the room, can I just check with a show of hands, women in technology in the room? Okay, fantastic. That's really, really good to see. I'm a proud woman in technology, and actually, in today's world, I think every woman should be a woman in technology. Even if you're not immersed in technology as a career path, whatever field you're working in, being close to technology and being technology savvy can really play a key role in enhancing productivity and effectiveness. And so my invitation to everyone in the room is to embrace technology as a way of life. As a way of life that can enhance reporting, access to information, creation of plans, deployment of tools, whatever task you need to perform on a day-to-day basis. In my role, I leverage a series of technology platforms, and they make a lot of difference between being able to deliver on time and not, and also being able to deliver something beyond the immediate scope of my own knowledge, to be able to broaden the base of my knowledge and what I'm able to deliver. So my invitation is that everyone should embrace technology. We should all be women in technology, whether we're in a technology career or not. Incidentally, in less than 2 weeks, we'll be celebrating International Women's Day, where the world focuses on recognizing and acknowledging the critical contribution of women to business and national development. Women have always played a key role in nation building. If you start from the most important institutional unit, which is the family unit, women play a very vital role as primary caregivers, providing a nurturing environment that has provided, everyone in this room, the great world leaders, business leaders, etc. But there aren't enough women in technology. We've seen an increase on a year-on-year basis in the number of women getting into technology, but given that, just looking at the population of Nigeria, for most age groups, it's a 50-50 split between men and women. The number of women in technology is really low. The numbers need to go up. Women need to have the opportunity to be part of the driving force shaping the future of technology and the impact in our lives. So why are there so few women in technology even today, given everything that we know? Speaking to a number of women, one of the things I hear about quite constantly is there's a perception that being in technology requires you to be something other than what you are. In terms of maybe I have to look different, I have to become a geek, I have to speak code, I have to, it's really complex, and so on and so forth. Now, first and foremost, women and men have the same endowment, right? We are just as capable, and in many ways, actually, even more capable than our male counterparts. It's not gender dependent at all. So there's no reason why we should have the skew that we have today around the ratio of women and men in technology. But just looking at some of those concerns, if I were to provide some pointers, some guidance, there are three things I would put forward. The first would be, it's very important to succeed as a woman in technology. It's very important to be yourself and to know that you don't have to change who you are. There's a story that was shared by a software engineer, an Asian American software engineer. Her name is Cofie in the US. She went in for an engineering exam, and she was wearing a cheerleader's outfit. As soon as she walked in, the examiner, a man, just started laughing because he could not imagine an engineer as a cheerleader as an engineer. But what happened? She actually topped the class in that exam. And that act completely transformed his perception about women and the role that women can play in engineering or indeed any field. Everything that makes us women, we should be proud of. And we should bring all of that. We don't have to change who we are and try to be masculine or try to be something different from who you are. You can celebrate every attribute that makes you who you are, and at the same time demonstrate that excellence and passion in technology or whatever field. We're talking primarily about technology, but really this cuts across to excellence in any field and really excellence in entrepreneurship, which is very much needed in the country today. The second thing I would say is it's important to build competence. The best way to get recognition, the best way to command respect is to know your stuff. In my experience, when I was at university, I read computer engineering, and there were just two ladies in my class. So just two of us. And there were times where when my male colleagues would make jokes about, why are you working so hard? You don't really need, just find one great guy to marry at some point and you're sorted. Why are you working like a man? You're working hard and you're working hard and there's a phrase, why are you working like a man? And sometimes they would want to offer me handouts to say, I know I will do the assignments, but I never succumb to that. If you want to command respect and due recognition within the field, you need to be able to stand as a competent person and be ready to do the work and build your own skills. You need to know your stuff. And it's not out of reach. Through intentional application of oneself, there's hardly anything that cannot be learned. We can leverage online tools. We can leverage people in our lives that are good at the areas where we want to develop. We can leverage mentors, coaches. There are 1,000,001 ways to actually get from A to Z, right? As long as there's that commitment and there's conscious effort and application. It's very important to have organizations like Women in Tech that actually shed more light and provide a supportive environment and tools for women to really access, to really connect, and also to access resources and also potentially, connect with coaches, mentors, role models, right? To see examples of women that are succeeding. And in Nigeria today, there are many women in leadership that are doing well. There are many women in business. There are many women in government that are doing well. So the story is already changing. This is a great time, I think, to be a woman, and a great time to be a woman in technology, because the possibilities, the opportunities are endless and right at our fingertips. And it's important to focus on charting your own course so that you can also support other women in coming up. I remember a story shared by Sheryl Sandberg while she was at Google, where, when she was pregnant, she realized that the car park was really far from the entrance to the office. And because she was in a position of leadership, she was able to walk up to the CEO at Google to say, you know what, we need to have special car parks provided for pregnant women. And it was a yes, that happened. But it took someone who was walking in those shoes, who had that experience, was feeling the pain, to be able to change policy in that way. That's why it's very important. Each and every woman in the room and everyone listening to the talks that we're sharing this afternoon, you have a responsibility to yourself, but also to other women, to light the way, to light the path. Because the more women we have in leadership positions, the more empathy we'll be able to demonstrate for some of the challenges that women face, some of the peculiarities, and also just really create a level playing field. And so my encouragement to everyone, today technology is the ultimate enabler. We all need to be friends of technology to the extent required for whatever work we're doing. If there are areas you shy away from because they seem complicated, set a goal to actually get on top of your game in those areas and look for how you can get help, either from people in your life, from tools available, etc. There isn't a glass ceiling anymore. Our limits are determined by us. The sky is not my limit, I am. So whatever we believe we can achieve, we can indeed bring to manifestation. And so I look forward to Nigeria, where we have a lot more women in leadership positions in government, in business, and certainly in technology. And it is my hope that the conversation that is going to be generated here, and in a lot of other forums that are happening at this time, would really create a supportive structure to make that happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Juliet. I love that line. The sky is not the limit. Quickly before I continue, I wanted to acknowledge the founder of WeTech, who's with us here. She's an amazing woman doing amazing things in the States here, in Nigeria, supporting girls in technology. First of all, you missed out on the amazing person, bio that's Juliet's bio, so I'm going to read that to you, just so you can feel the level of awesomeness that is Juliet's. So Juliet is the country manager of Google Nigeria, leading Google's strategy and business role in the country. Under her leadership, the Google team has made significant impact in local content development, infrastructure deployment, and digital capacity building. She's also actively contributed to developing national strategies for the acceleration of inclusive broadband growth. She was part of the national committee that developed Nigeria's broadband plan in 2013. She's also played a key role in the development of the ICT incubation strategy, resulting in the development of Idea Hub and others. Juliet has over 20 years experience in oil and gas, technology, and new media industries across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. She started her career at Shell Petroleum Development Company and joined Microsoft UK initially as a program manager and then business process manager for MSN International, covering 11 subsidiaries worldwide. She has led 4 major lines of business as a general manager, strategic business unit at Chance PLC from 2009 to 2011, all before starting her career in Google. Can we clap for that? Now that's an amazing career. Yeah, before we continue this video, we get something to play, a short video. Direct your attention to the screen. A short video, I spoke about women in tech, and this is a really 10-second video on what we've been doing and what we're doing as a group. Okay, has anyone used TechCabal?
Yes.
I love that they don't know Bankole but they know TechCabal. It's probably one and the same thing, but we'll have it next week and do your short bio. So Bankole is the editor-in-chief of TechCabal.com, Africa's fastest growing tech blog covering technology startups, mobile and digital media. He has blogged extensively in these and related spaces since 2011. Bankole's writing and quotes about technology in Africa are regularly featured in prestigious publications such as Cuts and Fortune. In 2014, Bankole and the TC team hosted the inaugural edition of TechCabal Bankole, the biggest showcase of technology startups in Nigeria, vying for a $20,000 prize. So we give $20,000 out. So, Bankole.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad that there's people that don't know what TechCabal is. Bankole is not really important to me. I couldn't care less really who Bankole was. But I do care that people know what TechCabal does. So if there's people in the audience that don't know what we do or what we're about, then I'm hoping that up to now that you will. Which is why we go to places and we have to evangelize, as it were. So meeting new people is exciting to me. The other question that I'm asking or you're probably asking yourself is what I'm also asking myself, which is why is there a guy on a women in tech panel? And the honest answer to that question, actually not for Ethel, but for myself is I'm really not sure. So I'm just doing this for reasons that I'm sure are clear to them. I was brought up to speak to you today. I'm not going to speak for very long, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you something about our company regarding women, and I will share a story. I think I should share the story first. So we run a forum alongside the website. It's called Eyre. And on that forum, people come and have conversations about stuff. It's a community of investors, developers, entrepreneurs, people that work for startups. It's a technology startup community, and because we are based in Lagos, Nigeria, it's predominantly Nigeria, and we have people from all over Africa come to stay in that forum. Now, I think one of the things that keeps me up at night is just the proportion of males to females on the forum. It's a testosterone overload. It's really, really worrying. And it kind of mirrors, the global situation, as it were, the number of women who participate actively in working technology. And we see that in the traffic, to the website and it's when we do gender segmentation, and that also happens, on the forums. You can count the number of women who are participating on the forum on, I think, all the digits on my hand. Which is the interesting thing, by the way, is that the people who are actually actively engaged are not. They're just a fraction of the people who are signed up. Because we have a women's tech group, and there is at least 100 women on that group. But as a proportion, we're talking like 20% actually actively contribute. And something happened one day that made me realize why. In fact, there's not enough men in this audience. I find it distressing because the whole course of my sermon had to do with sending them a message, but I will continue nonetheless. Something happened. This lady comes on radar and she writes a thread where she's actually gushing about how useful the platform has been to her, and she's learned so much. She's been lurking all this time. Another interesting behavior that we see, lurking without signing up. And finally she decided to sign up. And she started this thread where she says, "Thank God for radar." That's how she put it, literally. And when she did that, obviously it was a really warm post. People began to like it. She got like 20 likes like in the first few minutes of posting the post. And then something really weird happens. The guy comes, and I cannot remember exactly what he said, but it looked like he was dropping his resume for an interview years up. It was weird. That happened. And what I took away from that was, because we have, as an industry, we're not used to interacting with women. We do not know how to act around women. We act back. When I say we, I'm talking about that. Obviously, that generalization doesn't apply to every man. I like to think that I I'm a good person, and I act decently at every point in time. But as a reflection of the sex and the way it behaves, we even have the term tech bros to describe, that brotherhood, as it were, and the way people interact with women. And at some point, I had to intervene in that thread and tell people to act more, because when a woman walks into a room, just like the anecdote of a cheerleader who went to take an engineering exam, reacting to that on the basis of their gender as opposed to what they actually bring to the table in terms of value or contribution is a really silly thing to do. And I think when I intervened and told people about, first of all, I have to apologize to them. It's not a reflection of our efforts and the way that we think, on radar. Somebody sent me a message and they were like, when this kind of thing happens, we feel like we should go away. We don't want to continue anymore, we don't want to interact because we're afraid of this kind of behavior showing up. And even though you showed up and dealt with it, we still are afraid of interacting. And I found that to be very, very, I was distressed, to say the least. Men need to act better. It's sad that we are in the current situation where we are. But I think that the world is catching up to the current realities, and companies around the world are beginning to work on diversity plans. Companies like Facebook, Google, they publish their diversity reports, and the disparities were huge. And it's not just women who are minorities, we're talking about also racial disparities. But the good news is that they are actively working to narrow that bridge, and to narrow that gap, to bridge that gap actively, and thinking about how they promote diversity in their workplace cultures. That it's not just a corporate responsibility, it's also an individual responsibility for men to behave properly when they interact with women, to not stereotype them, and for everybody in the room, if you might have subconscious biases that might be dealing with that. You might not be part of the problem, but if you do notice someone, acting funny, then it is your place. It actually behooves you to step out and call them out for what it is they're doing and tell them that this is the right way to do things. On the other hand, I'd like to ask you and beseech, in fact, that we should not allow the intimidating circumstance to stop us from taking our rightful place in the ecosystem. And the default behavior is to want to retreat or just kind of disengage. Some people will say that it is victim blaming, but I hope that you will not understand that way, because I think that actively deciding to refuse to disengage is part of how women are going to take their place in the ecosystem as participants in the ecosystem. There is a responsibility, and I think it's, it behooves both parties, both men to act better, and for women to ensure that they stay in the conversation, they stay in the game. And if I took anything away from what Juliet said just now, it was the fact that women need to be responsible, take responsibility, and make sure that they find their ways into places of not just leadership, but influence, in a way that they're able to actually change things. Because if there was no one at Shell Sanders level able to make that move, obviously the issues go beyond just parking, for pregnant women. We're talking about equal pay. We're talking about responsibility. We're talking about the glass ceiling, whether women are getting promoted, or whether women are able to raise funds. These are the issues that we're dealing with. But it takes women refusing to allow bad behavior to deter them, to ensure that they're able to capitalize on
areas. And I suppose what I want to investigate as we speak along is what's important to you. So one of the things that is important to us as women in Tech Africa is to understand where you are, and what stage you're in, and what's important to you, and what we can do to support your growth at where you are at, which is why I asked the question. And so after the next speaker, maybe we'll delve into that a little bit more. Our next speaker is from Facebook. I was in Nairobi with Eyre about 2 weeks ago. Had really lovely interactions about women and online harassment and how we can protect ourselves and how we can make sure we're not perpetrators, but you're also protecting yourself when people are harassing us online. So Eyre is Facebook's public policy manager for Africa, where she focuses on issues relating to privacy, safety, and security, and freedom of expression, the impact of the internet on economic growth, and new opportunities for democratic engagement across sub-Saharan Africa. Before joining Facebook, Eyre was working as a project finance lawyer, qualified to practice in New York and the UK at Clifford Chance in Munich. Eyre previously worked in Nigeria and Liberia as a legal advisor and rule of law specialist at the World Bank and the International Finance Company, and as an anti-corruption lawyer at USAID. Eyre also has government experience. The German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, NGO experience, the Ghana Center of Democratic Development, and Lawyers Without Borders, and experience working with international think tanks, American Society for International Law, the European Institute, and the Brookings Institute. Eyre holds a bachelor's degree in Law and Society, International Relations, and Spanish from American University, a law degree from Cambridge University in England, and a Master's of Laws in International and Comparative Law from the George Washington University Law School. So if there's anybody that should be running public policy for Facebook, I think she's exactly what we need. So Eyre, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we can do a whole lot better than that. It's Women in Tech Day. Good afternoon, everyone. I think we're almost there. We're really close. I see a lot of gorgeous, amazing women in the room. So we can try one more time, and I really want you to give it to me. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is fantastic. I'm so delighted to be here, and I'm really excited that Ethel invited me to celebrate the launch of Women in Tech here in Nigeria. I really just want to give my 2 cents in this discussion of what I think we ought to be talking about. And I really am just more interested in us having a conversation because I see a lot of amazing women in the room, and I think it would be great for us to just take a little bit of time at the end to interact. So what are my 2 cents about women in tech? I think, and my colleagues have said it already, I think it's good to not stereotype ourselves. I'm an example. I'm a lawyer by training. To be really honest, I was always afraid of math. Like, there was me, and there was math. There was me, and there was tech. But the reality is that tech is such an amazing tool to do so many amazing things that it really doesn't need, we don't have to look for somebody stereotypical in order to do it or to use it. I think another really, really big point, which I wish somebody had told me, is that having a linear path in your career development is not necessary. As you heard in my bio, I have lived in quite a few places, one of which was Abuja, and I loved it. I've lived in Liberia before, I've lived in Spain before, I've lived in Germany before, and oftentimes my friends will say, what are you doing? Where are you going? But in hindsight, all of this I think happened for a reason because it brought me where I am today, and what I'm doing today, and I love it. So I think the point there is, you don't necessarily have a linear path in order to get where you want to go. Another huge thing is, I think often here, you should be an entrepreneur, you should be really passionate about what you're doing, you should really just create things and be creative in general, I think you also should be an entrepreneur with your own career. So what does that mean? It means you should invest in yourself the way that you would invest in your business. Take a course if you have to, get further education if you have to, do what you would do, spend the same amount of time and effort that you would put into your career, sometimes it's your family, it's maybe your husband, your boyfriend. Use that same amount of energy and passion and commitment and invest in yourself. Think of yourself as being an entrepreneur and for your career to be the thing that you want to drive forward. I think another really huge thing that I always hear about, and I didn't really get it, but for a long time, when I would meet a lot of entrepreneurs all around Southern Africa, people kept saying you have to be passionate about what you're doing. It's like, yeah, okay, I get it, but what does that really mean? I think being passionate means that even though you've only slept 3 hours and you have a bunch of other things to do, you're still ready to get up in the morning and do what you need to do because you're so excited about it. So even when times are not super exciting and it's not the best day, things can go wrong, you so care about what you do, you get up and you do it anyway. I also think, and that's probably my last one, is I think you need to figure out what it is that you want to do. And by the survey that Ethel did, it sounds like a lot of you already have, which is wonderful. But I wish somebody would have told me this in terms of you have to figure out what you want to do. If you're like me, you have two really opinionated African parents who give you a career option of you can be a doctor, or you can be a lawyer, or maybe an engineer. And if you're none of those things, you're a failure to the family. So when I told them, hey mom, hi dad, I'm going to work for Facebook, they're like, oh, why? Which is funny because I know tech is an amazing career opportunity. Even for me as a non-traditional tech person, a lawyer, I see so many opportunities and I'm so excited about the things that I get to do on a day-to-day basis and amazing people I get to meet such as yourself. So I think you have to think for yourself what you want to do with your career, where you want to go, and I think we have to be the example so that a tech career can be on the list of those careers that African parents will be proud to tell their other friends about and say, you know, my daughter, she works for this tech company, and blah, 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 because that's what at least my parents like to do. So I think that's really sort of just some of the ideas that, and thoughts that I had in terms of a career in tech for women in Africa. And some of the things I wish someone would have told me maybe a little bit early on, so I shouldn't have to figure it all out by myself. But as I said before, it would be really exciting for me to hear a little bit more about you guys, which I think we have a bit of time for Q&A after, just to sort of hear more about your experiences, what you're doing as a woman in tech in Africa, and how we can collaborate and help each other out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ehimuan. So just as a quick note, 20 minutes after we wrap up, there will be the Women in Tech luncheon here. So once we wrap up, I'll just, like there's food coming. So, like I said, next stage. So we know that there's a sort of on both sides there are sort of a small number of people that are very early in their careers. There's a larger group of sort of mid-career women here, so I'm going to concentrate on them a little bit, forgive me. So can we have some of the hands up, so mid-career and C-level women in the room? Right, raise them up high. Okay. So I'd like people to shout out to me at this point in time, like where you are in your career, what's the most important thing to you? I said shout out to you. Come on now, I know you guys have had lunch, but come on, what's right now, where you are in your career, what's the most important thing to you? Okay, I'll start because you all don't want to start. So for me, it's important now to be a leader of leaders versus a leader of followers. I don't know if that makes sense. That my team, it's very important to me, my team, the team that work with me. And so I have a day job where I run a tech company out of Ghana. it's important that everybody that works for me is a leader versus being a follower. It's important to me. That's what I worry about. I read books about now. I listen to podcasts about it, right? So let's hear it out there. Just shout out. It's like one word.
I would say creating a culture.
Creating culture. Is there another one? Soft skills. Additional skills. What's the third one? Capacity building. Okay. All right. We'll come back to that. We've got a few more speakers. Hold on. I better find my bio sheet because there's so many amazing women. I don't want to miss out on sharing their awesomeness with you. So hold on. Okay. Monica, you're gonna have to forgive me because I can't find it here. You're gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna ask Modupe to come up. Modupe is the CEO and founder of Capital Square, a coworking space here for listen up the entrepreneurs, the budding entrepreneurs that are looking for spaces. You should be talking to her right after.
Hello everyone. So I don't usually do these talk things because I'm usually sitting on the other side of all these things. So I'm really honored to be around such interesting, accomplished people today. Anyhow, I'm here to say a few words about Women in Tech, Africa and Nigeria launch, and just words for women in tech and women in business. I don't usually consider myself as a woman in tech. Everyone tells me I am. Bankole has told me that like 15 million times, a woman in tech. I don't think so. But I think, like Juliet said, that tech enables us in everything we do. I run a coworking space. I started we didn't have any like external funding or any of that, so I pretty much started everything by myself. Built the website, got the coworking platform, I just did everything together, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if there weren't these tech platforms already available. Now, I need to say disclaimer here that I studied computer science, so it was easier for me. I knew how to program all that. But tech is helpful. But generally, I think my words are for women who just want to do business and are starting things and feel a bit limited or feel like it's hard to get things started and get things going. For me, I'm going to be talking a lot about my own experiences because I know what I've done. I can't say much about anyone else. But the most important thing is to be open to learning. So there are a lot of things that I had to just Google when I was starting up. I had no idea how to do these things. I had never run a co-working space before. I never even been in a co-working space before I decided to start Capital Square. So it was, it's a huge learning experience. But you just have to put your mind to it and also be passionate, because if you get stuck somewhere, if you don't have that passion, if you don't have that drive, if you don't really believe in what it is that you're doing, then you're just going to stop. And you're going to stop. And that's completely the opposite of what we're trying to do. I think that another thing is to not limit yourself. So don't feel like, I guess it's the same thing I'm saying, don't limit yourself. Don't feel like because you're not a guy you can't do this, or because you don't have that tech experience you can't do this. Or even, I'm one of the people on Radar that he was talking about that just works. So I pretty much read everything on there. I never communicate, I never contribute, I never do anything. And I know that's a problem, because when you're running your business and when you're doing whatever it is you're doing, you need a community. And sometimes not having that community will hold you back, because there's no one that you can quickly ask about something. And you might know the people, but because you've not taken out that time to interact with them, or taking out that time to even just get to know them and say, hey, I do this, you can't come up to them and ask them the question, because it's like, now I just want to use you. So that's one thing. I think as women generally, we need to stop doing. We need to actually take the time to interact with the people in our communities and build these networks that we need. And I know that there are a lot of like women in tech, there are a lot of these things that are starting out now for just women, which is good. But then we shouldn't get caught up in the idea that, okay, I'm going to do this thing and I'm the first woman doing it. It's not about you being the first woman doing it or being the best woman doing it. Be the best person, period. You know, it's that thing. You have to take yourself out of that mindset of I'm a woman, so I'm going to just measure myself against other women. We have to realize that we're bigger than that. We're bigger than just limiting ourselves to this little pool that we like to create for ourselves, where we're comfortable and we can say, yes, well, mothers, so we understand all this. Sometimes, see, men exist and they don't get half of it. It's true. Like, they don't get half of these things that every woman will take, like, you know, we just get as another woman. They don't understand these things. Let's be very honest. So you have to try to work outside that. As a woman, you push yourself further. Because the people competing with you don't care if you have a very old child at home, and they don't care if you have to get off work early to cook. They don't care if you're planning your wedding or you have a bridal shower tomorrow. Nobody cares about that. They just want you to do your job and do it well. So I think that's even the biggest thing I'm saying here is don't limit yourself to I'm a woman, so I will do the best that a woman can do. Well, you know, people keep talking about superwomen, and if you're doing your own business, even if you're not doing your own business, in your own career, if you want to succeed, you have to put on that mindset of you have to do everything and do it well. And a part of all that is delegating. Again, still that superwoman mindset. When I just got married and we had started Capital Square, I mean, there's work, there's so much to do, but then you know, as a Nigerian woman, you've gotten married, so you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to do this, and yeah, it's granted, you do those things, but you can't do everything. There's no problem with you delegating. There's no problem with you hiring someone if you can afford it to do your laundry, so that you're not coming home tired after a long day at work and things to do, and you now have to sit down and start washing clothes. If you can afford it, if you have that time, and as long what matters is that everything, whoever does it is secondary. Whoever actually makes sure the things are done as secondary. What matters is that things work and things are fine. So whatever you can comfortably let go of it and focus on the things that count. I'm not saying that you should ignore your family and your household, no, please. But focus on the things that you alone can do and do well, and do those things or whatever you can let go of them, because people, no one else is in your shoes to know what you're going to, and they're not going to consider all those things when you're making a bid for yourself. But again, you're the one that defines what success is to you. So if success is going to work 2 times a week and being able to pay your bills and pay your staff, and just being comfortable and knowing that you have a happy life back, apart from work, that's fine. If success for you is being the next Facebook or next Google, and putting the work to get there, it's that simple. I don't think I have too much else to say. I pretty much just got everything else already. But yeah. So let me just put in something there now. Right now, I think in the past few years, there have been a few more opportunities for us as women and us as entrepreneurs and tech people to grow ourselves and improve ourselves. There are a lot more hubs and co-working spaces, incubators, accelerators. So you have to keep your mind on, keep your finger on the pulse, see what's going on, and tap into everything. Because it's very common that you see it's the same people over and over again that are getting this grant and winning that competition. And there's so many amazing things that we're all doing out there. So we have to as women, as people doing business, keep our eye on whatever is going on and take advantage of all these, all these things available to us. And I think the only thing we can really do from here is hope. We can only do better than we are now, and the world is slowly becoming a more enjoyable place for us. So I hope said something useful today, and thank you.
We'll quickly move to Nkem, so that we can quickly move to the Q&A. I think it's important to listen to you and what questions you have and your thoughts and what your ambitions and your dreams are. So Nkem, who is MD of FutureSoft.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about trends in entrepreneurship in Africa. And as an entrepreneur myself, I actually think that it's really, really interesting what is happening in the African space, especially in line with entrepreneurship. So, did you know that 70% of Africans are under the age of 30 at the moment? And by 2040, 50% of the world's youth will be in Africa, and most of them will be women and girls. Now, this I think is a very, very powerful statistic because it means that by 2040, if you calculate how old you're going to be there, it's not that far away, your daughters will be part of this youth, right? And it's very, very important that they're prepared for what 2040 is going to bring. And one of the things that I've realized is that a lot of women are afraid of technology and they shy away from it, and that now becomes a generational problem, because if our girls are not equipped in 2040 to join the workforce and to actually be leaders in technology, we will have a very, very big problem, and we will continue to be colonized in Africa in a very different way. It will be a digital colonization of sorts. So tech is actually the driver of entrepreneurship in Africa at the moment, and also the driver of economic development. Whether you say you're in tech or you're not in tech, at the moment most businesses, if they're not technology businesses, they're tech-driven businesses. And I think it's very, very important that we don't forget the role of technology and how important it is. Even if your business doesn't really rely on technology and all you're using is email, email is a very strong tool that is technology-driven that can take your business somewhere else. Now, there are four pillars of technology that are going to be very important in the next 10 years, I would say, because they're going to change. They're cloud, mobile, big data, and social. And these are things that, depending on what kind of business you have, what size of business you have, one or more of them will be important for you. We're also seeing a lot of government agencies and NGOs, and they are basically creating enabling environments for entrepreneurship. And a lot of those enabling environments are also tech-driven. We're also seeing new and updated ICT policies coming up all over Africa, and I think that this is something very, very positive. And we as women need to make sure that we have input, because at the moment the tech space is dominated by men, and there are very, very few women who are sitting at the table and writing these policies. But if we're going to be the majority of the population, of the youth population by 2040, we need to make sure that now we're actually inputting into these type of policies. There are incubators, business plan competition, there are tax incentives by government. Yesterday I spoke at a panel, there was someone from Begho there, and they were talking about how they're creating tax breaks for entrepreneurs and for people who invest into SMEs. And I thought that was really, really powerful and really interesting, because at the moment, Lagos State is chasing everyone to pay their tax, yet they're actually ready to give tax breaks. So it's something that everybody needs to explore. There are a lot of mentorship programs, and I think that, you know, that's also very important. We need to be able to pass down from generation to generation, which is why I try and take every opportunity I can to actually pass down the knowledge that I have and influence, even if it's just one person who, you know, takes something away. There's also a rise of tech businesses and tech-driven businesses, and I think it's very important that we distinguish between the two, because at the moment there is a lot of hype about, oh, the tech space in Nigeria, but a lot of these businesses that we're talking about, they're not necessarily tech businesses. Ikonga Engineer is not a tech business. It's a retail business that uses tech. It's a tech-driven business. And we need to make sure that we actually build tech businesses. So for example, my business is an actual tech business. We build technology. And it's important that we have more and more of these kind of businesses, because if not, we'll continue to outsource and we'll continue to basically consume from other parts of the world, and we will not build skill within the country or within the continent even, because I'm sure the same thing is happening all across Africa. So we need to make sure that we actually build skills. But I think one of the things that we have to definitely give Africans a lot of kudos for is that they're solving their own problems. They're creating and moving away from just being consumers. And I think that this is the first step in the right direction. We're also working smarter by using technology, and we're going global. And I think this is one of the most exciting things. So a year and a half ago, I started a completely different business. I produce baby accessories, so play mats and diaper pouches, and it's all made of akua. And we're very, very excited that we're getting orders from all over the world. And the only reason why people know about us is because we're on Instagram and Facebook, and we're using technology to push our brand. And this is something that 10 years ago wouldn't even have been possible. So when you're building your businesses, make sure that you use these technology platforms. And yes, it takes time. Yes, you have to learn a lot of different things to be able to actually reach the right target demographic, but it is possible, and it's very, very lucrative and useful. Also, female entrepreneurs are on the rise. There are a lot of women who are breaking into male-dominated industries, which is great. Because the only way I see that there can be sustainable growth in an industry is if there's a balance between men and women. Because women always bring something else to the table. Then there are also a lot of craft businesses that are coming up that are, especially in the luxury segment, so the Afro-Lux segment. We have a lot of new and smart approaches to retail. Instead of having big stores, we now have a lot of pop-up shops. And these are mostly done by women. So because of my second business, half of my weekends are at different pop-up markets. And most of the other people who are there and who are business owners are women. And they always say, oh yeah, well, I'm just doing this on the side so I can juggle home and business. But at the end of the day, this is an ecosystem that is so large and it keeps growing. Every single exhibition I go to, I see more people who are bringing out amazing things, who are making hair products, body products, who are creating amazing fashion, who are creating things with their hands. And I think this is something that we should never, look down on. It's something that we should celebrate. And I think we should also make sure that we collaborate and stick together. I think that's really, really important, because that's one of the things that even in the workspace, a lot of women don't do. You'll hear a lot of women who will say, I prefer my male boss or my male colleagues because they're just nicer, they give me better advice, they help me grow. And a lot of women, because they know the struggle, they decide, okay, I'm not going to help you because you're coming after my job. You're younger, you're more beautiful, you're more skilled, I'm not just going to help you. And I think that's wrong, and we need to change that. But in general, I think as women in Africa, this is a great opportunity to realize that we need to embrace technology now, not for ourselves, but for our future generation. Thank you.
Right, so we're quickly going to, this time is fast, and we're quickly going to have mics around into the Q&A section. We're going to skip the panel section, the Q&A question. So if you have a question, okay. Okay, so let's see sort of all the people that have questions so we can maybe take them and answer them and go. Okay. So we've got 5 questions. So we'll take 5 and then we'll address it. So